Vintage Story, a game about exploration, fighting time demons, and losing your shit of the amount of prep work that is needed for every single thing you do. So, in this video I'll give you a review of this game, of the things that I liked and disliked. And for the parts that I disliked, I'll also give some feedback on how it could improve. And yes, there are mods that fix some of these issues, but mods shouldn't be a solution to everything, as most people do not play with mods and just prefer to play the base game. I will not nitpick every detail in this game, as it's still getting updates. Things are being added from time to time, so I'll mainly focus on the things that are finished. Feel free to counter my points in the comments and give your own suggestions. Anyway, let's get into it. And for the people looking for timestamps, if I didn't forget, they should be in the description. The handbook in Vintage Story is one of the best guides that I have encountered in any game. It's not there in your face, forcing you to use it like a 9-year-old that is in need of shiny things to click on, yet it's one click away with a simple overview with everything you need. Well, almost everything, as some things need to be found out while playing. It's no joke that this game is complicated and requires a lot of patience to get through, let alone that the slightest mistake you make can get you killed. It is nice to have a guide built in the game that prevents that. It teaches you how to use the mechanics and hints you how to use them differently to your advantage. Every blueprint is available of every item, and when you click on the raw component, you will get a full list of the things you can make with that item. And for new people wanting to give this game a try, then I advise you to explore the handbook, as you never know what you may learn. Just like any survival game, food is required to live. Although if you're insane and you want to do a no-eat playthrough, well, it's possible if you keep healing yourself through the damage. But for the same people around here, gathering food is not so hard once you get used to it. If you don't tamper with the default settings, then you should spawn in a season where berries, mushrooms and fish are plentiful. Eating them raw is possible, but you'll learn soon enough that cooking the food will provide more satiation. However, there is a complexity to it that in the grand scheme of things is completely useless. You see, there is somewhat a hidden mechanic. If you eat more diverse food, you'll get more health. But it's a way too big pain in the ass to max out every single type of food. Let me elaborate on this. This game already takes a lot of time to manage everything and preparing food for dungeons and expeditions. Getting more health seems nice, but not getting hit is preferred, and after a while you get used to that. The nutrition stats are nearly impossible to fill up completely and drain way too fast to be of any use. That's why most people prefer to make pies, as it is inventory friendly, provides 2 nutrition types, has a good shelf life, has a lot of satiation, and is very easy to mass produce. Now, to fix this issue, it's rather simple. Either let the nutrition stats last longer, or give different buffs enticing people to divert from pies. It would also be nice if you were able to make salt from salt water, as that would make bushmeat a lot more viable if you don't live in a salt biome.
Get up to rock, get up to burn, stand with the pride and burn for your desire.
Crafting and gathering in a Vintage Story is straightforward, but very time consuming. Most people are casual players and don't want to spend over 20 hours to make compost. This is not an exaggeration, as compost does indeed take 20 hours to make. Yet, at the same time, the slow and steady process is somehow satisfying if you reach the next stage. Like moving from stone tools to copper tools feels extremely satisfying, as it takes so long to do, if you're a new player that is. So, how can we fix this without making the game too fast or too easy? Well, for compost to begin with, it would be nice to simply have a crate that you can fill up with non-perish food that will create compost in approximately 3 in-game days instead of 20. For charcoal, as you'll need a lot of it, it would be nice if you get more firewood out of a single log. Currently, you need 4 logs to fill 1 tile with firewood, which you then get around 4 to 8 pieces of charcoal. This causes you to spend a lot of time chopping trees, and it's not one of the most fun things to do. Honestly, it's rather boring. Speaking of trees, something I found weird is that it takes a lot more time to chop a tree that is 10 blocks high than a tree that is 3 blocks high. This game has some realism to it, but why should it take more time to chop a bigger tree while the trunk size is exactly the same? So logically, it should not take more time. To fix that and balance it out, they should increase the time it takes to cut a log, but make it equal for all trees no matter the size. That way, people will be more likely to chop the big ones instead of the small ones. Next is mushroom gathering. Mushroom gathering takes time as you have to break or cut them, but mushrooms can be easily plucked by hand, so why not give us the option to pick them directly up? In my playthrough, I rarely took any mushrooms as it took too much time finding them, so I'd rather just hunt some more than pick for mushrooms. So by giving us the option to simply pluck them by hand directly, people will be more enticed to farm mushrooms. Last thing in this category is panning. Panning is very profitable but is very time consuming. It can help you out at a pitch, but is more often than not worth doing, unless we get the option to automate it, of course. Giving us the option to automate panning with, for example, a water wheel would be wonderful, but it will be overpowered as you won't have to mine anything. So how do we prevent that? Well, by tweaking the loot table a bit. Depending on where you farm the gravel is also what type of resource you will get. Example, if I farm gravel in a copper rich location, then I should be getting copper pieces and not iron, gold or silver. This way, panning stays viable and is not overpowered in the long run, and you'll still need to find the other ore deposits while mining.
チーム長、あの人本当にいい級なんですか？力が半端じゃないんですけど。
Mining in Vintage Story is actually rather easy once you get the hang of it. Unlike Minecraft where everything spawns everywhere, here you have to find the right location by prospecting. You can dig straight down and if you're lucky, you'll find what you need. But it is easier to prospect your way around the map, and if you find the resource you need, then you simply have to look for a cave. Often you'll find the resources in that cave and then they can be mined in bulk, as ore deposits are generated in veins, so you will rarely find single ore blocks. The smelting, however, even though it's easy, it would be nice if you could create bigger molds to melt more ingots at once instead of one at a time. Next, it won't harm to be able to create a big crucible to melt large quantities of ore at once. That big crucible should be stationary and, like in any dwarf movie, the contents can be poured out into molds that are connected to it. In exchange, the small crucible made out of clay should not be able to contain 25 ingots worth of metal. At most, it only should contain 2, so that you'll eventually move over to the semi-automated forge, as most of the things in this game can be automated anyway. So why shouldn't this be? Smithing, on the other hand, should not be changed. You will spend a lot of time in this game smithing, but that's the beauty of it. Nothing feels more satisfying than completely making a full set of steel armor by hand. You'll cherish that piece of armor and feel proud that you got so far making one.
お母さん、ごめんね。私は君のお母さんじゃない。幻覚。幻覚じゃないよ。
Exploring this game is mandatory and takes a lot of time. So much in fact that I had to run 5 hours to get to a dungeon. 5 hours with a mount nonetheless. Things shouldn't be in close proximity to each other, but at the same time you shouldn't be spending most of your time running from one place to another. So how do we fix this? Well, by adding the option to create teleporters. Teleporters are already in this game active in certain runes and certain places, so why shouldn't the player be able to create them themselves? If we are able to create teleporters, they should on the other hand be very expensive to prevent people from making them everywhere, but not too expensive that you won't be bothered making them. Like, for example, finding broken teleporters that can't be fixed, but can be disassembled so you can create your own teleporter at your own location. That way, you'll still need to reach the location in question, but you won't need to go back and forth every single time. This way, people will still explore the map, but will not be punished for it if they want to run back all the way to their base. A good way to find that eventual blueprint would be in the Resonance archives, as lore-wise it would make sense. Dungeons, on the other hand, in this game are rather special. They require some brainpower and a good amount of prep work before you get in, as you cannot build or place any blocks anywhere in a dungeon. This is great, but it comes with a great deal of problems, like, for example, temperature. If you are unfortunate to do a dungeon in the winter, you will constantly freeze yourself to death, and you cannot make a fire to heat yourself up. Or if you took pies with you, well, you cannot place them on the ground to cut them, although pies should really be cuttable in the craft menu. That would solve this problem easily. For the Resonance archives, this isn't so much of a big problem as you are inside of a building and you won't suffer that much. Besides that, this dungeon is straightforward and is not hard to finish. But the Devastation Tower, on the other hand, this one was a real nightmare to finish. If you are underprepared or doing this in the winter, you'll have to go back to your base and waste a lot of time traveling back and forth. let alone the freaking climb up there is truly a pain in the ass and very punishing. So how do we tweak this without making this dungeon too easy? So for starters, a teleport that can be activated and linked to your base once you finished it would be nice. Secondly, safe spots where you can light up pre-arranged campfires to heat yourself back up. And lastly, it wouldn't harm to have some special item or special building inside the dungeon, or at least at the start of the dungeon, that requires a couple of temporal gears to activate, that then will allow you to respawn at the bottom of the dungeon. This way you won't have to waste a lot of time running around back to your body in case you die. And unless you are a pro in this game, the Devastation Tower will require a lot of trial and error that will get you killed from the slightest mistake. You can only run so many hours until it feels like you're wasting time. This game has a lot of content already, so there is no need to bloat it with unnecessary travel time. And that's about what I have to say about the current state of the game. It is a very good game, but not a perfect one. Nothing can be perfect, of course, but it can be close to it with some constructive feedback. As Vintage Story is not on Steam or any other platform, then you don't want to scare off most casual players from giving this game a go. And as most adults can only spare around 4 hours a week gaming, and sadly over 70% of the gamers are in this category, you'll want to make this game a bit appealing to them. Then again, I can't force a dev to do any of this, let alone letting him watch this video, so it's a long shot. Anyway, do let me know what you think about these points, and feel free to suggest your own ideas. Who knows, we might be heard and you'll have a part in the changes that are up to come. So, feel free to leave a comment with any of your suggestions, and if somebody feels fancy, do not mind to subscribe. And for the people that didn't like it, well, I'm sorry you wasted another 10 minutes of your time.